again and again. And the ones who wake up at 4 a.m., they understand this secret. They give themselves a head start. They create a world within themselves before they step into the world outside. Wake up early to reclaim your time and silence. It sounds so simple, but in that one sentence lies a whole new life waiting for you. The truth is, most of us spend our entire day reacting to alarms, to messages, to deadlines, to demands. From the moment we open our eyes, the world pulls us in 100 directions. But imagine this. What if you woke up before the world could reach you? What if you opened your eyes when the sky was still dark and the only sound was your breath? That silence is not empty. It is full of possibilities. It is your chance to choose how you begin your day, instead of letting the world decide for you. At 4 a.m., the world is quiet. Your phone is quiet. Your family is sleeping. Your city is asleep. And in that stillness, there is something sacred. There is no rush, no pressure, no noise. You finally have the time to hear your own thoughts, the ones that get drowned in the chaos of the day. You finally get to be with yourself, without distraction, without interruption. This is not about productivity for the sake of hustle. This is about presence. It is about reclaiming a part of your life that has been stolen by noise, by comparison, by urgency. Time is the most precious thing we have, yet we treat it like it is endless. We spend hours scrolling, watching, consuming, while the dreams we once held gently fade into the background. But at 4 a.m., you remember. You remember that you once wanted more. You remember that there is something inside you that is not okay with settling. And in that quiet hour, you can start. You can pick up a book, stretch your body, pray, meditate, journal, or simply breathe. You can begin again before anyone else begins their day. Reclaiming your time is not about filling it with tasks. It is about giving it meaning. When you wake up early, you give yourself the first slice of the day. Not the leftovers, not the drained hours, but the first, freshest, purest moment. You start to honor yourself. You say to the universe, I matter. You are not here to merely survive your day. You are here to own it, and ownership starts with intention. This habit creates a ripple. It begins to change how you see the rest of your day. When you start with silence, you carry calm into the noise. When you begin with clarity, you face chaos with grace. You stop feeling behind. You stop rushing. You are not chasing time anymore. You are walking with it, in step, in rhythm. You start to feel powerful, not because you are doing more, but because you are doing what matters first. Most people wait for peace. They wait for a vacation, for a Sunday, for a perfect moment. But peace is not something you wait for. It is something you create. And those early hours, they are your canvas. Paint them slowly. Breathe into them deeply. Create a morning that reflects the life you want. Because how you start your day shapes everything. Not just your mood, your choices, your energy, your mindset. No one sees your 4 a.m.s. No one claps for you when you sit in the dark and choose discipline over comfort. But that is the point. You are not doing it to impress. You are doing it to return to yourself. And once you taste the stillness of a morning that belongs only to you, you will never again trade it for an extra hour of sleep. Morning discipline shapes your character. It may sound like a motivational poster phrase, but it is a truth that quietly reshapes your entire life when you start living by it. Discipline is not loud. It does not scream for attention or show off in front of others. It is a quiet decision you make every single day. And when you choose to wake up in the early hours of the morning, when the bed feels warm and the world outside is dark and silent, that choice slowly chisels your inner world. The moment you wake up early, not because you have to, but because you choose to, something within you begins to change. It starts with small things. You begin to value your word. You said you would wake up and you did. You begin to trust yourself. You set a goal and you followed through. That simple act of showing up for yourself at an hour when no one is watching, no one is expecting, and no one is applauding, that is the root of discipline. And it has nothing to do with perfection. You will mess up. You will snooze the alarm. You will sleep in some days. But when you come back, when you try again, when you rebuild the habit, that is when your character is built. Character is not built in moments of comfort. It is built in those moments when your feelings scream one thing and your values whisper another. It is built when you choose effort over ease, commitment over convenience. Morning discipline trains your mind to lead your body. It teaches you that feelings are not facts. Just because you feel tired does not mean you cannot move. Just because you feel lazy does not mean you cannot act. And this power, this strength to rise above your moods, becomes your edge. In a world where people are addicted to comfort, discipline is rebellion. When you train yourself to do what needs to be done before your mind begins to talk you out of it, you build something far greater than a routine. You build resilience. You build integrity. You become someone who does not fold when life gets heavy. You start treating your time like it matters. You stop wasting it on things that drain you. You begin to protect your energy like it is sacred. That morning discipline also creates order in your life. You begin to notice your thoughts more clearly. You become intentional with your actions. You do not start your day reacting to the world. You begin it with purpose. Whether it is exercising, writing, planning, meditating, or simply sitting in silence, what you do in the early morning shapes what you become when the world is watching. Because the truth is, public victories are built on private discipline. And over time, this discipline seeps into every part of your life. You start keeping promises to others, because you now keep promises to yourself. You become reliable, not just to the world, but to your own heart. You stop chasing motivation and start relying on structure. You no longer need someone to push you. You are driven by something deeper, something anchored in who you are trying to become. The beauty of morning discipline is that it requires no talent, no fancy tools, no one else's approval, just you, your alarm, and a choice. The same choice every single day, and each time you make it, you sharpen your spirit, you toughen your will, you step closer to becoming the kind of person who does not just talk about change but lives it. Because real change does not come from big loud decisions. It comes from those small quiet wins, like waking up when you said you would, even when no one else knows but you. Consistent mornings create consistent growth. It is not about one powerful day or one perfect morning. Real growth is not something that explodes overnight. It is something that builds brick by brick, moment by moment, choice by choice. When you start your day with intention, again and again, it is like planting seeds. Not every seed shows fruit right away, but with enough time, something strong begins to take root inside you. There is something powerful about repetition. Waking up early is not a one-time effort. It is a rhythm, a silent beat that keeps you grounded when life feels chaotic. The world will throw challenges, disappointments, distractions. But when you have a morning routine that you return to, no matter what, it becomes your anchor. It becomes your space of stability in a world that often feels unstable. And from that stability, real growth starts to happen. Not just in what you do, but in how you think, how you respond, how you carry yourself. Consistency is not glamorous. It is not exciting, but it is effective. You may not feel the change every day, but over time it becomes undeniable. The early hours teach you patience. They teach you the art of showing up, not for results, but for the process. And when you fall in love with the process, you stop rushing the outcome. You begin to appreciate the small wins, the quiet mornings, when you read a single page, the short workouts that build strength, the peaceful walks that clear your head. These moments may seem small, but they are never wasted. They are investments. And every morning you choose to show up, you add value to yourself. You start to see how much power you actually have. You stop waiting for motivation, for perfect conditions, for someone to push you. You understand that discipline is a muscle, and every time you wake up and follow through, you strengthen it. Eventually it becomes natural. It becomes part of who you are. Not someone who talks about change, but someone who is living it quietly and consistently. Growth needs a place to land, and your morning routine is that place. It is where new habits can take shape. It is where old excuses begin to die. It is where you separate yourself from the crowd. Because most people wake up and dive into distraction, but you create space. Space to learn, to think, to move, to breathe. That space gives birth to clarity, and clarity leads to direction, and direction leads to progress. When your mornings are consistent, your values stay in front of you. You are reminded every day of who you want to become. It is easy to forget your goals in the rush of life. But when you give yourself even 1 hour of focused presence each morning, you keep your purpose alive. You keep your vision fresh. You realign yourself daily with your future self. People often say they want transformation. They want to be more confident, more healthy, more productive. But they wait for a spark, for something dramatic to wake them up. The truth is, growth is not a firework. It is a sunrise. Slow, gentle, quiet, but unstoppable. And when you build a morning rhythm and stay loyal to it, you become unstoppable too. Not because everything is easy, but because you keep going, because you keep showing up, because you decided that your growth matters more than your comfort. The secret to a better life is not found in doing more. It is found in doing what matters again and again, until it shapes who you are. And that journey begins every morning, when the world is still quiet, and you choose to rise. Early hours allow mental clarity and focus. When the world is still asleep, and the noise has not yet started, there is a different kind of silence that wraps around you. It is not an empty silence, but one filled with calm. That calm gives your mind the space it rarely gets during the rest of the day. There are no buzzing notifications, no background conversations, no traffic, no clutter, just you and your thoughts. In that space, your mind starts to breathe. It slows down, it sharpens, it becomes more aware. And in that state of awareness, you begin to see things differently, more clearly, more calmly, more wisely. Clarity is not just about knowing what you want. It is about knowing what you do not want. When you wake up early, you give yourself the time to think without pressure. You are not rushing through breakfast or trying to reply to emails. You are not surrounded by demands. And because of that, your thinking is cleaner. You can reflect on what really matters, not just what is urgent. You can ask yourself questions that you usually avoid. Am I happy with the direction I am going in? What am I tolerating that I should not be? What can I let go of? These questions come more easily when the brain is not overloaded. And the early morning hours give you that kind of mental spaciousness. Focus is something we all crave, but rarely find. The reason is not because we lack ability, but because we lack the environment. Focus cannot grow in chaos. It needs protection. It needs a boundary between you and distraction. And the early morning creates that boundary without even trying. It offers you a window of time when no one expects anything from you. That freedom is rare, and that is why it is powerful. It allows you to dive deep into whatever matters to you. Reading, writing, planning, learning, or simply thinking. And the quality of that focus is different. It is not just about getting things done. It is about doing them with presence. There is also something to be said about the freshness of your brain in the early morning. You have just rested. Your mind is not yet tired. Your decisions are not yet pulled in different directions. That mental energy is at its peak, and what you do with it sets the tone for your entire day. If you begin with clarity, you carry clarity into the rest of your tasks. If you begin with focus, your mind stays more organized, even when the world around you becomes busy. It is like setting the compass before you start walking. You know where you are headed, and you are less likely to get lost in distractions. Mental clarity also brings emotional balance. When you begin the day in silence, you get to check in with yourself before the world checks in with you. How am I feeling? What do I need today? What do I want to accomplish? These small self-checks make a big difference. You stop being reactive. You start being intentional. And that intention helps you deal with stress in a more grounded way. You are less likely to overreact, less likely to get overwhelmed, because your mind had time to reset, to anchor, to find its center. There is no secret tool or expensive program that replaces the power of a clear and focused mind. And the earliest hours of the day are the most natural, most affordable, and most effective way to get there. It does not require perfection. It only requires the willingness to get up, to sit with yourself, and to be fully present before the world begins to move. That presence is what makes the difference between just surviving the day and actually living it with clarity, purpose, and peace. It leads to better health and sleep cycle. When you start waking up early, it does not just shift your schedule, it begins to align your entire system. The human body has a rhythm, a natural internal clock, and when you start respecting that rhythm, everything starts to function more smoothly. Waking up at 4 a.m. may feel difficult at first, but as your body adjusts, you will notice that you begin to feel more refreshed, more balanced, and more energetic throughout the day. It is not magic, it is biology working in your favor. The body was designed to rise with the light and rest with the darkness. When you honor that pattern, you give your body what it has always needed: consistency. Your sleep improves, not just in quantity but in quality. You start sleeping earlier, not because you are forcing yourself, but because your body starts craving rest at the right time. Your mind becomes calmer before bed. You are not scrolling late into the night or battling endless thoughts. You have structure. You have a purpose. And when you live your day intentionally, you fall asleep peacefully. That deep sleep, uninterrupted and natural, begins to repair your body in ways no supplement or energy drink ever could. It supports your immune system, sharpens your memory, stabilizes your mood. All because you decided to take control of your mornings. Your mental health also begins to lift. Early risers often experience less anxiety and depression, not because they are stronger, but because they are more in sync with themselves. They give themselves space to breathe, think, and process emotions before the demands of the day begin. When you start your day in a quiet, present, and centered way, your nervous system gets a break. Instead of jumping straight into stress, you ease into the day. You feel calmer, more prepared, less rushed. And when the mind feels safe and grounded, the body follows. Waking up early also gives you the opportunity to build healthy habits. You have time to drink water, stretch, exercise, or take a walk. These small actions, when done consistently, lead to long-term benefits. Your body becomes stronger. Your heart works better. Your digestion improves. Your skin starts glowing. These are not coincidences, they are the result of steady, intentional choices. And when you start seeing these changes, you begin to respect your body even more. You start feeding it better food. You start saying no to late-night junk. You begin to build a lifestyle around wellness, not just survival. It also changes the way you relate to energy. Most people rely on coffee, sugar, or stimulants to drag themselves through the day. But when you sleep well and wake up with purpose, your energy feels natural. It is clean. It lasts longer. You do not crash halfway through the afternoon. You are not dragging yourself out of bed with resentment. Instead, you rise with a sense of calm and power. And that energy stays with you, not because of caffeine, but because of rhythm. You start to see that health is not something you chase when things go wrong. It is something you build every day, in the choices that seem small but matter the most. Going to bed on time, choosing rest over endless scrolling, moving your body even when it is not convenient, saying yes to early mornings even when it is easier to hit snooze. These choices shape your body, your mind, your soul. When your health improves, everything improves. Your relationships, your work, your confidence, your creativity. Because health is the foundation. And when you start waking up early, you are not just becoming more productive. You are becoming more alive, more balanced, more connected to yourself. You are aligning your life with the natural flow of time, and in doing so, you create space for healing, growth, and real strength to take root. You become someone others look up to. It does not happen overnight, and it is not something you announce. It happens quietly, through small acts of consistency, through discipline that no one sees, through choices you make every single morning when no one is watching. People begin to notice not just what you do, but who you are becoming. They notice the glow in your eyes, the calm in your words, the strength in how you carry yourself. And without even trying, you start to inspire. Not because you are perfect, but because you are intentional. When you wake up early and live with purpose, you create an invisible shift in your presence. There is something magnetic about someone who is grounded. You speak less, but say more. You rush less, but achieve more. You complain less, but carry more grace. And people around you feel that. They begin to wonder what changed, why you are not as tired, why you are not as overwhelmed. They start asking you how you manage everything with such steadiness. And the truth is, the change started long before they noticed. It started with a decision. A quiet personal decision to rise when the world slept and choose yourself. This influence you build is not forced, it is earned. Through early mornings that no one celebrated, through days when it would have been easier to stay in bed but you got up anyway, through quiet moments when you reflected instead of reacted. Over time, people begin to sense that you are reliable, that your words match your actions, that you are not swayed by every mood or situation. That makes you trustworthy. And trust is rare. It makes you someone people want to follow, not because you are loud, but because you are steady. Leadership is not about titles. It is about presence. It is about energy. It is about character. When you live with consistency, when you show up for yourself, you naturally start to show up better for others. You listen more deeply. You encourage more sincerely. You help more selflessly. And people feel safe around you. They feel inspired, not intimidated. That is what makes you someone they look up to. Not perfection, but authenticity. Not dominance, but quiet strength. This kind of influence extends beyond words. Your habits begin to speak louder than your advice. People see you taking care of your health, making time for reflection, prioritizing peace. They notice how you treat your time like it matters. And without preaching or pushing, you begin to plant seeds. Seeds of possibility. Seeds of change. You become a walking example that transformation is possible, that discipline can be beautiful, that simplicity is powerful. You also begin to uplift others naturally, because when you are rooted, you do not compete, you do not compare. You celebrate others because you are not threatened. You help others rise because you know what it feels like to rise alone. That kind of support creates deep respect. People begin to see you not just as someone doing well, but someone making others better. That is the mark of real leadership. Not how far you go alone, but how many people you bring with you. The more consistent you become, the more dependable you are. And in a world full of noise and chaos, dependability is gold. People start trusting your word. They value your opinion. They want your perspective. Not because you know everything, but because you have proven through action that you mean what you say and say what you mean. It is never about trying to impress. It is about becoming your best self. And when you commit to that quietly, daily, relentlessly, you become the kind of person who lights a path for others, not by shouting from the front, but by walking ahead with humility, strength, and unwavering clarity. You build a sense of control and inner peace. In a world that is constantly spinning faster, notifications buzzing, deadlines chasing you, comparisons screaming at you from every corner, it is easy to feel like life is just happening to you. One moment blends into the next, and before you even realize it, the day is gone and you are left wondering where your time went. But when you wake up early, before the noise begins, something remarkable happens. You reclaim your time. You reclaim your choices. You begin the day from a place of calm instead of chaos. That calm is not just a feeling. It is power. It is the quiet power of knowing that you are in charge of your life. That first hour of your day is sacred. It belongs to you, no one else. When you use that time with intention, even if it is just sitting in silence or writing down your thoughts, you are telling yourself, I matter. My peace matters. My direction matters. You start to build a strong inner core, a part of you that stays steady no matter how wild the rest of the day gets. That steadiness is control, not control over everything that happens around you, but control over how you show up, control over your reactions, control over your choices. It is not about perfection. It is about being present enough to respond instead of just react. As this routine continues, that inner peace starts to travel with you. It walks with you into meetings. It stays with you in traffic. It softens your voice during conflict. It strengthens your patience when things do not go as planned. You start to notice the space between a problem and your response. You stop jumping into stress. You start pausing, breathing, and deciding that space is peace. That pause is strength. And both are born in those early morning hours when the world is still and you are able to simply be. This sense of control also transforms your relationship with time. You no longer feel like there is never enough of it. You stop saying, I do not have time, because now you do. You created it. You protected it. You shaped it. Time feels different when you are the one who decides where it goes. You become less reactive to other people's urgency. You stop letting everyone else's plans pull you in all directions. You become anchored, grounded, certain, and certainty is one of the rarest forms of peace. This inner peace also brings clarity. When your mind is not racing first thing in the morning, you start to hear the quiet truths inside you. What do I actually want? What have I been ignoring? What do I need to heal from? These questions do not need loud answers. They just need space. And in the early hours, space is all around you. Slowly, you start to reconnect with yourself, not the version of you that performs for the world, but the version that is honest, simple, and whole. That reconnection brings a kind of peace that no vacation or escape can match, because it is not outside you. It is inside, and you finally made time to sit with it. There is no need to wait for life to slow down in order to find peace. Life may never slow down, but you can. You can choose to rise before the rush. You can choose to create stillness, not wait for it. And in doing so, you build something stronger than motivation. You build discipline. You build emotional maturity. You build a home inside yourself where you can return whenever the world gets too loud. That is what early mornings give you. Not just extra hours, but a way to lead your life from the inside out. Peace is no longer something you chase. It becomes something you carry. And that makes all the difference. You stop reacting and start leading your day. This shift may seem small at first, but it changes the entire structure of how your life feels. When you wake up late or just in time, your entire day becomes a game of catch-up. You are always behind, always responding, always dealing with what is already happening. It is like being in the passenger seat of your own life. You are moving, but you are not the one steering. But when you choose to wake up early, before the demands begin, you put your hands on the wheel. You decide where the day is going. You become proactive, not reactive. Most people do not realize how much of their life is lived in reaction mode. They are reacting to messages, to emails, to moods, to traffic, to other people's expectations. And because they are constantly reacting, they never really feel in control. They never feel settled. Their emotions are at the mercy of whatever the day throws at them. But when you take that quiet time in the morning, when you set your own intentions before anyone else speaks into your day, everything changes. You begin with clarity, and that clarity becomes your armor. You are no longer easily pulled by distractions or pushed by urgency. You respond with calm. You move with purpose. You start to lead. Leading your day does not mean you have everything figured out. It simply means you are making conscious choices. You are deciding how to use your energy, your time, your focus. You are no longer waiting to see how the day unfolds. You are shaping it. You are planning, preparing, and protecting your peace. That is leadership in its purest form, not over others, but over yourself. And when you have that kind of self-leadership, you become more stable. You stop depending on the mood of the day to decide your attitude. You build your day from within.